I'm Dwayne Brummett. He's Ali Alberigo, and this is the School Owner Talk podcast. Hello again, Dwayne Brummett here with Ali. Great to be with you, Ali.
Hey, great to be with you too, Dwayne. It really is, honestly. I love our calls and love chatting with you. And it's kind of like we've been doing this such a long time, like literally every Wednesday for years, right? And I feel like my week's complete because you and I chat and we get a few minutes before and we brainstorm. I wish we lived closer. Like I'm sure it would be very fun. Go out to dinner, things like that, and all that other stuff. But it's just great having you as my friend and being able to chat with you weekly.
Yeah, I'm most appreciative. You got a lot of friends, so you know a lot of people. So to be considered a friend of yours is something to be said. To be quite honest with you, because you do have a lot of friends.
It depends on who you ask, though. It depends.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I like to think I get along with everybody until they become an idiot. So,
Yeah. But you know what? It's so true. Like the one thing about social media that I love is like I've met so many people, stay in touch with so many people, talk to, happy birthdays and comments through social media, even though it's to some extent like a bit of like this two-dimensional fake world in a way, but at the same time, I have a lot of friends that I otherwise would have never seen, talked to, or stayed in contact with for forever. But right. I am able to still keep a little connection to those people through social media.
Yeah, it's been pretty neat. And I mean, one, it was nice that we knew each other before.
Yeah.
All of this anyhow, and I've been to your state, you've been to my state. And,
yeah.
In fact, quite often when I drive on 57 and I see a certain sign, I'm reminded of a time that you were in town. So
yeah. Hey, check this out. The other day when I was on a little while back, I was on an airplane flying down to Florida or Nashville or wherever, and you're on airplane mode, so you could only hear or see videos that are in your phone. So I'm scrolling through all my audio because I have like multiple audios of the same songs and I'm deleting out the extras. But I found an audio interview that you and Dwayne Ricardo did with me called Grill Ali or something. Ali gets grilled. Dion.
Yeah.
Dion. And what a good interview, though. That was a really cool interview. You did a great job, like the questions and the layout, and the interview was fun. Like I go back in time and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of things we discussed that I'm like, wow, I think I should be doing that again. For some strange reason, I stopped doing it.
Yeah, well, it's the what is it? I've forgotten. What is it? I've learned more than I've forgotten. I've forgotten more than I learned. What does that say?
Yeah. You really, well, like as school owners, we're always looking for the next best thing. What's the newest trend? What's the newest thing to do? How are people doing it now? And then you forget, like there are a lot of things that were very simple that I used to do way back when that for some, and I don't know why, I can't even remember for the life of me why I stopped doing it. Maybe it was too tedious or too much work, or at the time I didn't see the benefits and someone else seemed more beneficial, something else. And I just eliminated that activity. But like, it's just like, I'm going back to sales sheets when I'm signing up people up now. And I had like a sales binder so they could visually see the progress of what our program gives them, what's the benefits and all that. I got away from it. I don't know why I did. I think it was all about not doing the presentations as much anymore. But, if I could increase my sales by 10, 15%, again, more, that'll be beneficial to me.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but through our Spark membership program, you can do a PowerPoint presentation on your iPad as you're doing it.
With the sales sheets and all that right through there.
Yeah, so when they're going through, you're signing them up, it's also attached to that agreement. So I'm sure each agreement you have, each program has its own agreement, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can make a PowerPoint for each of those.
Wow.
and rather than having that flip binder, you can just use your iPad and swipe it to the next screen or whatever.
Just another thing that Spark thought of.
Yeah.
Right, that makes our lives easier. Like literally everything you could need in software.
And I don't know. I know this isn't our topic today, but we'll get into it in just a moment. I don't know if so we get the weekly updates.
Yeah.
And I've now started to, on Fridays, schedule time for me to start going through those, especially the ones that are completed.
Right.
Because even I didn't realize, like in the checkout pages, they're doing things now that I wish I could. That they're allowing things to happen inside the checkout pages that I wish I would have happened a while ago. But like a good software, and this company particularly, not just because they're a sponsor of our podcast, but the fact that they listen to their constituents, us as school owners, and then they make the software better. And I'm really excited that they have those briefs or updates.
Yeah.
But it's not enough just to have those, because I wasn't looking at them. I've got to schedule time. So I schedule time on Fridays now where I look at it, usually schedule a block of 20 minutes to go through things and look at it. And then I'm off to the next thing.
And I agree with you. Like I look at them and I go, wow, there's a lot of really good info. I'll get back to it. I save it in my inbox. Next week rolls around. I hit delete. I'll eventually get to it. And it is a little overwhelming just to stay on top of software. But at the same time, if you get one good thing that makes your life that much easier out of the software, it's so much better. So anyway, let's why don't you tell everybody the topic today and we'll get started.
Yeah. So today's topic is on how to onboard new members so that they stay, they pay, and then that they refer. And if you had listened to last week, I think it was last week, but we talked about 5 ways to get new customers. And the first 4 ways, and you can go back and listen to it, but basically, just in a nutshell, the first 4 ways are all linear. And those 4 ways are going to increase in cost over time. Just because of cost of living goes up, I mean, that's just going to be a constant. It's always going to increase. The 5th one we talked about, which is referrals. That is the great equalizer, because that one, if done correctly, is the one that doesn't have to go up in cost.
Right.
That can, bring down the cost of the cost of acquisition or the cost of acquiring a client. And so when we're talking about onboarding new members, so that they stay, pay, and refer, really we're talking about what the new members in our martial arts school, what their initial experience, is that really sets the tone for the journey that they're going to have ahead. But we have to be, I believe, we've got to be very strategic in how we do it. Now, what's been unique and innate in martial arts that I think we take for granted is that most martial arts schools have a culture. They have a belt system. They have, so just with those 2 things, let's just say, even if they're not even strategic about it, just with those 2 things, that can help create this opportunity to get them to stay and pay and then also refer. But if we were to take a look at, really how to do it strategically, and we were able to, keep one more student, right? Be able to get one more student keep one more student per month, get one more upgrade per month, get one more referral per month. That starts to obviously increase our revenue, but it also decreases the marketing costs as well, right?
Right.
And so we we basically run a membership organization. That's what a martial arts school is. Because what do they buy? They buy a membership. They pay weekly, yearly, whatever it is. It's really a member organization.
Right.
Do you know what, like, really one of the oldest, if not the oldest, membership organizations is?
Probably the churches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the local church.
Yeah.
And what does the local church do? And I'm not here to preach. That's not what I'm about right now. Although you can listen to me later if you want to hear that. But no, the thing is that what the local church does and what they do well is they attract like-minded individuals to become a community, and then they do things, with that community to help other people, help the community. I mean, just all those different things. But and we could really, dive in, and we don't have time today, but like dive into, all that they do. But really, I just wanted to bring up the fact that it's the oldest membership organization, and it might be a good opportunity to kind of, even if you're not religious, even if you don't have a faith, even if you're agnostic or atheist, looking at it from a business standpoint, a business mindset, if you will, I think is important.
Well, there was a great book that I read years ago, and I forget the exact name, and I could try to look it up. It was Churches something, and a pastor's journey on rebuilding his flock or fellowship in this church. And it talked about how many churches, which we don't realize, actually go out of business every year. Like, you don't think of churches going out of business, but a lot of them open and close because they don't have the fellowship or the following, right? So it's no different enrolling people, indoctrinating them into your flock, let's say, if I'm using correct terminology, to get them to be loyal, to come to your events, to come to the Sunday sermons, to be involved with the fundraisers. That is really no different than how you would try to build a martial arts school. The only vessel is martial arts versus religion, right?
Yeah, I mean, with some slight nuances, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And the difference is, we have a membership that you pay for on a, again, weekly, biweekly, monthly, yearly basis, whatever it is. They decide to, that organizational membership is, from a financial standpoint, they are based upon the people that want to give.
Right.
You're not obligated to, but the people that want to give, right? I guess it depends on where you go. Some churches make you feel a little more obligated than others.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that all being said, back to onboarding. So onboarding, simply put, is it's assimilation, right? It's taking, someone from, where they are, and then, making them similar to what you are providing. That's really what onboarding is you want to create this assimilation that takes that person from where they are to where you would, to the similar mindset, doctrine, philosophy of where you are at.
Desire.
Yes. And every school owner has this process, whether it's, they know that it's strategic or not. They have one. And even no process is a process, by the way. It just might not be a good process.
Right.
And so, we really, I think if we started to dissect and look at this, we could try to maybe understand what's going to help us get these, the new members, or even the new trials to become new members, and then the new members to then stay. And like I said, pay and then refer.
Right. So let's go on. Like, I learned a little bit of listening to your interview with me, how you were talking about my book at the time, and you would go into specific chapters and you had specific questions. So let's stick on staying, right? And I know, like, onboarding, well, let's go to onboarding first. So onboarding, in your opinion, is, that assimilation, that education, getting people to develop them to have the same desire, ideas, goals as you do as an instructor, and having your goals and the family's goals or the students' goals align, so that we can accomplish certain tasks, right? So,
yeah. Well, let me ask you this: Have you ever signed up for a membership for anything before?
Of course.
Okay. So there's a difference when you sign up for membership and you say, I signed up for this membership,
right?
Or instead saying that I'm a member of,
right?
There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference. So let's think about, again, I'll bring up Spark. What Spark did, Spark membership software, did was they created this membership software for martial arts school owners to use, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what did they call, or what do they call us as the members that are using this software?
Spartans.
Exactly. See, we didn't just buy a membership. We are a membership of Spark. And what are we called? Spartans.
Right.
So right from the beginning, they label us as a part of them. So like, and think about it. They did such a good job, not to mention, again, the product is phenomenal, but
Right.
they did such a good job in the fact that when we talk about Spark, we talk about the software, we talk about it as if it's ours.
Yeah.
Because we have a vested interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
When we make a suggestion and then they take it, and then they, like you could look at some of the things that you've suggested over the years. I've suggested other school owners, and we can go, that was my idea. Now, there may have been 12 other school owners or 20 other school owners that had the same request, but you have a total buy-in because now you're like, man, that's my software. Like I had something to say. So there's the point I'm getting at here is that language matters.
Yes.
Language matters.
So let's go back to, so here's a funny thing. Like I find this odd. I don't find it funny. I find it peculiar, right? So I just had a conversation with a parent. Love the parent. He's a dad. He's a cop. Great guy. The mom, great person. Their kid's been with me. They're coming up for their 3rd year renewal. He started at 2.5 years old. He's literally the cutest. Like I have a picture that's one of the most famous pictures in my dojo where he's in his gi and he's got his sippy cup. His mom took it and sent it to me, and I made it into a photo on the wall. Like I love this kid. He sees me. He's like, Sensei, how are you today? Like he's only 4.5, right? The other day they said, yeah, we're going to be discontinuing after the renewal comes up for this year. So I said, is everything okay? Anything wrong? What's going on? No, we love your program. Colton loves it. My wife and I love it. It's amazing. He's learning. He's doing great. And I'm perplexed. I'm confused. Like, what is happening? Well, we just want him to experience other things. And I said, well, can he experience other things and stay in the dojo? Don't worry. He'll probably be back. And I go, let me tell you, we have a saying, quits or breaks equal quits. Very rarely do I ever see someone come back that says that. I said, so the best thing for you to do is consider why you're here. Everything is positive. Why would you stop? So I think that there's in my head, I've been just for the last few days thinking about this. Somehow, somewhere, we fell down the totem pole or the scale to, they love it, but somehow they don't love it enough to stay with it and not do other things, or maybe only limit what else he does. So somehow in that onboarding process or the continual process over the last 3 years, I've somehow let them lose that excitement. They still love it, but they're not as excited. They don't see like what the future could be like if this little guy stays for another 4, 5, 6, 10 years, right? Like what his life could be. Somehow we're not showing that vision. We're not explaining how important it is. Parents don't think that way anymore. They don't realize like when they have something at their fingertips, how lucky they are.
Well, I also think that they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And to your point, 1, quits or breaks equals quit.
Right.
2 is that the fact that they're looking at a different bright and shiny object.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they have, but they're believing that this other thing or other things, opportunities, might be even better for him.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
And then maybe he's got a friend doing something else that he wants to go do. And
actually,
like,
he doesn't. He loves the dojo. Like they said, he loves it. He loves coming. He's not demotivated. So like it falls on the parents because he's a kid, right? So you're right though. Like how do we get them to understand? And that's all part, the better we are at onboarding and continually educating, that will equal that retention for more time.
Yes. And let me bring up three questions that you really kind of want to ask yourself about your members.
Mm-hmm.
And before I do that, I just want to go back to my last statement when I said that language matters.
Yeah.
And back to, I bought a membership to TriStar Martial Arts Academy,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm a member of TriStar Martial Arts Academy. There's a difference. So language matters. It's kind of like when I ask the students in the studio and I say to them, do you do martial arts or are you a martial artist?
Yes.
Because there's two totally different things. So the three questions that you really want to ask yourself about your members is you want to ask yourself, what do I want my members to receive? What do I want my members to believe? And what do I want my members to achieve?
Right.
So then when you start asking these questions, then, you can start putting things into practice.
Right.
Strategically put things in so that there are some wow factors,
Mm-hmm.
being like Grandmaster Hafner always said, be remarkable.
Right.
How can you be remarkable? So first question is this: what do you want your members to receive in their first hour?
Right.
Well, when they first sign up, we want to give, I don't know, however your sign up processes goes, because everybody's are different, but
right.
We're going to give them their uniform. We're going to give them their t-shirt. We're going to give them access to the app. So those are going to be things that they're going to get within their first hour.
Right.
Take a picture of them, celebrate them either on, your board at the studio, online, however. I mean, those things need to happen. What do you want your members to receive in the first 24 hours?
Right.
So not just right when they sign up, 24 hours later, what do you want them to receive? Well, it could be a thank you card that's mailed to them, like a physical card. Now, are they going to receive it in 24 hours? No, but you
right.
get it done in 24 hours.
Yeah.
A thank you card, a follow-up phone call from the head instructor.
Yeah.
You could even do a coupon for a free parents' night out or half off the next event.
Yeah.
Just because they became a member.
Yep.
So, and then what do you want them to receive in their first week of training?
Right.
I think one of the biggest things you want them to receive is you want them to get connected with another parent.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a parent that's been there for, 3 months as opposed to them being brand new, or maybe it's a parent that's, so that would be where the program director comes into play and sees what needs to happen and knows who the parents are that have been there, that have really bought in, right, to the program. And then you pair them up and say, hey, by the way, Mrs. So-and-so, have you met Mrs. So-and-so? Her kid is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Just want to introduce you so that you have a connection here.
Yeah. In fact, I'm lucky with my Little Warrior 2 to 4-year-old program. I normally have a bunch of people in the lobby, and 3 of the people that are in the lobby parent wise, which are almost always there one of the days where new people come in, the husbands were my students when they were kids, and then they eventually stopped and went off to become law enforcement, and they brought their kids back to me. So it's always cool to go, you see that, Mom? Their kid is in my school, and her husband was my student when he was a teenager.
Yeah. So, and that makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Without a doubt.
So that connection is huge. And I think sometimes we forget, the bigger our studios get, the more that we forget that. But if we go back to how your studio was when you only had 50, 60, even 100 or less,
right?
Everybody was connected. Everybody knew everyone.
Yep.
And there was such a buy-in to that.
Yeah. So,
and then I was going to say real quickly, what do you want your members to receive in their first month? Maybe they need to receive their first belt or their first skill stripe or whatever it is. But we got to start thinking about these things. What do I want them to receive? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just going to add to that. I was going to say, so the onboarding process, assimilation, education, processes within the school to keep people involved, connected, understanding what's going on. Like I utilize my app on Spark, and I have, Welcome to the Family. I have a quick start guide that we give out on their first class with an 18-page full color, beautiful manual. But the question is, though, what I find is, and I know this to be true, only a very small percentage of people will actually read it with full attention. They might skim it and go, oh, well, I'll get back to it. Or they might read quickly and it's out of their head before they leave. So that's the whole thing, is penetrating through the white noise in their life. And that's repetitive. Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion on that? What if that booklet was an in-house booklet? One, it's a coffee table booklet, because I love your viewing area. It could just be sitting on the coffee. But two, it could be that, hey, Mrs. Jones, while Sally's in class, I wanted to give you this to take a look at. We keep the copies here. I mean, if you want a copy to take home with you after you look at it today, I certainly can give you one. But would you take the time right now to kind of thumb through this, and then obviously let me know if you have any questions? Because then there's a time frame on when they have to get it done by. So, could they logically, I'm just asking you, I don't know how big it is. Could they logically read it in that
probably
half an hour?
Not read the whole thing, however, because they're still watching class. But I do that, though. I give it to them when they get there. I said, thumb through this while your kid's in class, and then make sure I tell them to read it over when they take it home. And then,
but if you're going to take it back, there might be more apt to read it.
Yeah, but then I wonder, though, like if I take it back and they never read it, then they're not going to read it anymore. But we also then follow an onboarding automation where they get a series of emails over the course of the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, depending on if they signed up, it would be 6 months. So it's a matter of getting them used to reading. That's why with my app, I've now eliminated putting information on other platforms. So they're forced and driven to the map. To the map, I would say, right? Where they have to go there if they want to know when we're open, when we're closed, what special events are going on. You want to sign up for the Halloween party? Go to the app. You want to do our day camp? Go to the app. So I realized long ago, like other platforms, whether it be email, sometimes even text messaging, but most importantly, social media is not a good outlet to communicate, because the algorithms on social media don't always show people who are following the same thing.
But if you're in your onboarding process, you're telling them that all the updated information will be inside of that app.
Right.
No problem.
Right. That's no problem. We do. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, you want to ask yourself, what do I want my members to receive?
Right.
And not just in the first 3 months, but look at really how you want them to, what do they want them to receive all the way through up to black belt, and then do it beyond. I would tell coaching clients about this, and I used to call it because this was what Professor Hafner had called it, the roadway to success, really, and I kind of termed it as the path. But anyways, map it out. And then all you got to do is go, okay, this set of white belts that are joining right now, I'm going to create this as they become, so if it takes 4 years in your school to become a black belt, you're just going to work for the next 4 years and follow that group. And everybody else back will benefit from that. And then once they become a black belt going to second degree, you still work with that group. What do I want them at this level to receive, at this point to receive? And you can always go back and change things. I know, like for us, one thing that we've come up with too is we do have a belt level newsletter.
Right.
So once they become a yellow belt, then they have a yellow belt newsletter that they get. When they become an orange belt, they have an orange belt newsletter. Now it's just a one page newsletter.
Right.
It's an email. They're informed about it. I mean, one, they obviously get the email. Two, we send them a text message. It's all through an automated, but what that does is it goes into, what my second question here is, what do you want your members to believe? So at each level, I need them to be graduating in their belief, not only just in themselves, but also within the program. And this will kind of go back to, what you talked about with those parents wanting to leave, is the fact that I need them to believe that this program is making an impact in their child's life.
Agreed.
And so there are specific things and stories at different levels that we utilize, from past parents to situations. So for instance, whatever our highest level of quit rate is, the
Right.
belt before that,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about the fact that most people by this time are getting close to being demotivated.
Right.
And here's the reasons why, because of this, and this, and here's how to overcome those. And for those that decide to overcome them, here's the picture of your child once they reach at least their first degree black belt. And here's
Right.
why. And then, obviously there's some short videos that are also available in there that they can click on. And it's just real short, like 1 minute, 2 minute topics that, I have that are on YouTube that they can, watch really quick.
Yeah.
But again, getting them to believe what you want them or need them to believe in order for them to be successful. And I go back to that the language is so important because, our friend Kenny Bigby, who owns a school in Indiana, former Navy SEAL, when I want to say rebranded him, but we kind of did. When we rebranded him, we talked about that we needed language that fits the model that he wants. Like, he wants only serious parents with the serious kids, because he's mainly an adult school.
Yeah.
And so we had come up with, because he's a former Navy SEAL, with the word elite. So everything has, or most things have, an elite terminology to them, an elite feel to them as well. So even when it's not a skill stripe test, it's an elite assessment.
Yeah.
I mean, just the terminology to get the belief where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And I love it. I actually love that whole concept. It's great.
So the other thing is everything is cyclical, I believe, in the martial arts. And so if you think about even your mat chats, all of your mat chats need to be pretty concise, down to a minute or two. Like, really, if you had a mat chat, you could sum it up in a phrase that your students could remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I call them little Senate sermons, and so one of them that I would always preach is that there is no such thing as I can't. It's either I won't or I don't know how. And I can't tell you how many times, because I don't keep count, that I'll have a student say, well, I can't do that. And I say, there is no such thing as I can't. It's either I won't or I don't know how. Or they will say, and then that allows me to do a little speech if I have to. Another one is, that's not fair. That's not fair. And I just tell them, I just simply say, who lied and told you that life was fair? Because it's not fair.
Yeah.
And then I just tell them life is tough, but when you're tough on yourself, life is infinitely easier on you.
Yeah.
And you think about this, though, they're going to hear that multiple times throughout their training, because it's not just a one and done. There's going to be another classroom with another kid that's going to say, I can't do that. And then I get to repeat it again. They get to hear it.
Right.
Or they're going to say that it's not fair that Johnny won. I don't know who lied and told you that life was fair, but it isn't. But life is tough. But when you're tough on yourself, life is infinitely easier on you. Like, just those small little phrases, like we have different little Senate sermons that we use. And I think that that's so important, because the culture, the language, in order for them to believe on the same level and the same type of things that you are believing, is really, really important. Another one is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right.
If you're sloppy doing this, you're sloppy doing other things. Now, you may be putting on an act right now and not doing it sloppily. But if you're sloppy doing this, I can assure you, you're sloppy doing the other thing. And another one is, like, I just say little things count.
Definitely does.
And so getting them. So the question is, what do you want them to believe? And then you need to craft ways that they get the buy-in for that belief. Isn't that the same? Like, if you stop and you think about these same questions within the local church. I mean, the local church, if it's a Christian church, then you want them to believe in Christianity. So you're going to be talking about things out of the, like, you're not going to say, Satan is the one and true God. Like, you're not going to, You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's and really there's church language. You hear people.
Yeah.
There's church language even.
Yeah.
You go to the school system. My wife talks about the school system because she's been in there for 25 years. Their school language. They have acronyms for everything up the wazoo.
Yeah.
And so what do we want our members to believe? So first is receive. Next one is believe. And then the last one is what do we want our members to achieve?
I love it. All great stuff. I love everything about it.
And I don't mean to cut you off. I think I don't know if you want to
dude, don't worry. I've probably done it to you a million times already, so don't worry.
So with regards to you want to start with or stay with believe before we get to achieve?
Yeah, well, we have, stay, pay, and refer, right? And we're at around 12:06 already, and we have like 25 minutes or 20 minutes left. So let's not forget to really get, to the stay part is very much similar to the onboarding part. Like they're all woven together, right? Like,
well, all three of these questions will help you.
Yeah.
All three of these questions. So what do you want them to believe? What do you want them to receive, believe, and achieve will encourage them to stay. And then the longer that they stay, they're going to pay. And then the better or the much better experience that they have. And if you're strategic about it, they're going to refer you. And you want them to refer you. Just like the local church, they ask, hey, look, if you have anybody that you know that, you want to bring to church with you, bring them to church. Same thing that we do, right? We just had a glorified buddy week, that we called National Martial Arts Appreciation Month.
Right.
It's the same thing.
That's awesome.
So with regards to what do you want your members to achieve? Yes, obviously you want them to get their stripes and their belt ranks and those type of things. You want them to have meaningful connections. Let me say that again. You want them to have meaningful connections. They need to achieve the fact that they belong. I am a member of Long Island Ninjutsu, not that I bought a membership at Long Island Ninjutsu. Ninjutsu. You need them to have quick wins. There needs to be quick wins in the beginning. They need to achieve that first belt, that first stripe, those first accolades in the beginning. The biggest time that you want to be praising them, not that you don't praise them all the way through, but they really need that in the very beginning. So going back to, what are they going to get in their first hour, 24 hours, first week, first 30 days? If they don't have a belt test within the first 3 months, I think that's horrible. Right. At the very least, they need that. Does that kind of make sense?
Totally. I love it.
And then beyond those things, what do we want them to achieve? Well, speaking skills, listening skills. We want them to be a better leader. We want them to have good interpersonal communication skills. So and if those are the things, like you just go through and start writing the things down that you want them to achieve. And then how can you build that into your program if it isn't already there? Again, I think that we are very blessed with the martial arts because there is some of those things. I've been saying this for years. Some of those things are innate in the martial arts.
Yeah.
But I believe if we were to really look at the things that we want our students to achieve, and then obviously we want them to be able to defend themselves. I guess that was a given, but but I didn't say that. So let me just state that now.
Yeah.
Look at the things that we want them to achieve, and then how can we go back and strategically make sure that those things are happening? So we put them in there, we inspect what we expect so that we can get those achievable things in the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Without a doubt. I love it.
So, and everybody wants to belong to something. Everybody wants to believe in something. They want to become someone. And so that's by doing these things. I really truly believe the fact that, you can get them to believe, belong, and become.
That's great. Well, stay, pay, and refer, believe, belong, become, all of those things are, similar in values, right? And it all goes back to, I believe when I had the best buy-in according to black belt enrollment in my schools. I was, and I use this term because it sounds a little confusing, but I was in the parents' heads. I was in the students' heads more, meaning that they listened to what I had to say and they bought in. So if a parent said, "Hey," I said, "What would you do if your kid wants to quit?" They'd say, "I don't know." I go, "You don't let them." That's it. Like right now with that one kid who's 5 years old now, I can't do much because it's not like the kid's demotivated and giving his parents a hard time, because he's not. It's that they think somehow, somewhere, giving him more diversified experiences will make him a much more well-rounded child, which I find to be ridiculous. Like, because I'll give you an example. My daughter played piano. I bought her a baby grand piano for her and her mom when she was younger. She took piano lessons for 2 years, never really loved it, barely could play that well, whatever. Then she moved on to clarinet. And then she moved on to the flute, but then she liked the flute and stuck with that throughout all junior high and high school, and did the NYSSMA, I think it's called, where they do the music awards and all. But the minute she was done and went away to college, she hasn't picked up her flute since. Like for me, I played guitar since I'm 4 years old, and you can see my wall of guitars behind me. But there was a good 15 years that I just got so discouraged with being in a band and playing music, and for a whole bunch of litany of reasons, that I hadn't picked up my guitar in years. And I literally forgot how to play. Like I could do basic chords and basic things, but when I started my new lessons, I felt like a total white belt, if that. Right. So you forget. And that's where I think that we have to always constantly be in the parent's head, the student's head, reminding them what they are getting. They don't know. They don't know what they're actually getting. They don't realize what they're learning. They don't realize the benefits and what the future holds. How could they? We have lived it, so we have a vision. They don't. And then when we try to explain it to them, or the parents, their mindset is so limited, they only hear it as like a glorified sales process. Sure, he doesn't want him to quit, or yeah, I guess you believe that, but I don't necessarily believe it. So we have to really get inside the head of the person.
Well, and if you can find experts, or at least one expert, to back up what you're trying to say. So if somebody is talking about the fact that going deep in one area is way more beneficial than going wide in 12 areas,
right?
Just as a quick analogy,
yeah,
then you would utilize that to your advantage,
right?
Make that a part of a delivery system that all parents get, especially when they're considering not signing up again or considering quitting.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how many times have we talked to parents and also the kids later on in life that saw you in the grocery store and said, "Man, I really wish my mom wouldn't have let me quit. I wish I would have gotten my black belt." How many?
I wish I had $1 for every time that happened.
Exactly. So any of those individuals that you still are connected to, and with social media, you might be able to find them much easier, is to take those individuals. And now because of COVID, Zoom is easy to do. Everybody understands it. Why don't you do a Zoom interview with them and say, "Hey, can we talk about this topic," so that hopefully it will help some kids and even parents that are considering letting their kid quit.
Yeah, so I have a kid who just reached out to me Monday night at 11:30. He's not a kid. He's 37 now. He actually was a young kid, maybe like 12 or 13, going to test for his black belt. And the day of the test didn't show. I never saw him again. Parents ignored me. They ghosted me because they were having issues. And the kid went down this really bad path. About 5 years ago, he rejoined my school when I had opened up a small little program in Florida, and he trained pretty religiously. And then that program, we closed it down. But he struggled his entire life with drugs, alcohol, and addiction. So when he needs somebody, he reaches out to me. Like at midnight, he reached out to me. He needed just me, my voice of reason to talk to. And he always says, "I wish I never quit. And I wish my parents," and I get it. He was a 14-year-old troublemaker, right? So they couldn't like tie him up and duct tape him and bring him to the dojo. So They kind of threw their hands up. But at the same time, he equates quitting with all the struggles he's experienced over the last 35 years or 30 years. So like that vision, I wish we could only get, but people, you know, the cigarette commercials that used to come out where a person would have a voice box, they couldn't talk. They said all those commercials didn't have any effect on smokers because it was them that were affected. So they switched the concept to be that not being able to walk your kid down the aisle and now they're by themselves, or not be able to see their first day of college. Now a smoker would say, I need to quit because of my kid, not necessarily because of myself. The connection was different. So we have to really look at that and say to ourselves, like, what can we do to tap into their emotional state so that they actually listen, if that makes sense, right?
Well, it's and we talked about this a little bit in last week's podcast, where it is the I'm trying to remember what we talked about. We talked about ethical. I can't think of it.
I don't know.
Takeaway. What did we talk about?
Ethical. Well, it was removing the urgency, taking away the
not just the urgency.
The stack, right?
But anyways, the point was the fact that the cost of inaction.
Mm-hmm.
So the cost of not taking action. Sometimes we need to let the parents know, like, the longer you wait to get your child in the martial arts, the less time you have for them to become successful.
Right.
Same thing is the cost of inaction. So if you decide not to do this and not let them rejoin, then here are the benefits that they're going to receive in the future that they may not ever receive, because that's already inside of our program. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
it would be the cost of inaction. Oh, you want to quit? Okay, why? Well, because they want to, whatever. But you like the program, yeah. All right. Let me ask you a question. What is it that you were looking for out of a martial arts program? Well, we wanted to have this. Okay. So we've already produced that with other kids. And so by taking him away from that, aren't you taking away the things that, the potential for those things that you're looking for already?
Right. Yeah. However, I go back to, my mind always goes back to having said these things like I did the other day with the parents. And I kind of know I'm talking to the wall, right? So sometimes as instructors, and I know there are a lot of instructors out there probably heard this a million times and they've done it a million times, yet we're like, why bother? Like almost, right. I'll give you an example. Today, one of my friends was telling me he failed someone for their brown belt test yesterday. And they've been training for like 8 months to get prepared. And he's been working with them. And the kid is so lazy and just doesn't care. So he actually literally kicked them out of the school because he feels like, you've wasted my time for 8 months and she can't even do 5 push-ups and she doesn't even care to remember her techniques. Why am I even bothering? And, why do I do this? So he said, it's time to move on. Like I'm not going to waste my time because obviously you don't care enough for me to waste my time. So I think sometimes we have to look at stuff and say, when is the right time to do it? It's like 80% of the people who come to your school are the ones that are just going to be average and do this, right? But you're going to have 20% maybe, if that are going to be outstanding and really buy into, dig into, understand the benefits, realize what they've got, the tools. Like I always said to myself, like, I don't ever remember more than maybe 1 or 2 teachers in my public education that made the effort to really make me feel special and connected. But I remember those 2 people very well. Right. So there weren't bad teachers, all the rest of them. They did their job, but I just didn't connect to them. A martial art teacher is way different. Like we have to wear many different hats as they grow older. We're changing our personalities to fit their new age demographic and how they act. We don't have them for 6 months or 8 months and then they go to a different school grade and teacher. We have to live with them and train them. And then all of a sudden they're gone. They quit. You don't hear from them. It's a pretty painful process for instructors. I'm really attached to this one little kid, but I'll get over it in a few days. It used to take me months years ago, but it's a shame. It's sad, right? But what can you do? It's part of what we do. We teach, just like I guess a pastor or a priest preaches. Hopefully, people will absorb a piece of the message, the full message, whatever it may be. And then hopefully he will have impacted that person's life in that sermon at that very moment.
Yeah, you can't chase everybody down. I understand that, but you certainly can try to have a structure that allows you to have to chase less and less people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to read that?
Yeah. So Rick Kellerman had said, just an idea. Just as we have students and parents write testimonials, have all those old students, former students write testimonials on how martial arts changed their lives.
Yes.
I've done that. It's actually on my website. I had a guy who trained with me, and he actually became a Black Hawk helicopter pilot in Afghanistan. And he told me about how the martial arts helped him survive, but it wasn't about necessarily just military combat actions. It was more about sitting on the tarmac and waiting for his call to come in 110-degree weather, and how he was able to keep his cool under fire. And then I have another one who's another testimony on my website, who's a kid, grew up, and now he's an emergency room doctor, a surgeon. And it talked about how the martial arts helped him get through college and how he uses his cool during surgery. And none of it has to do with physical fighting, right? But it's all about that. And there's a lot of those stories too. To have those things are really good if you could get people to do them for you. So I know, Dwayne, you have like 4 minutes left. Why don't you really quickly sum up, how stay, pay, refer, right? Like referrals come from the stay and the pay, and, the believe and achieve mindset. So maybe give a quick closing on that, and then we'll close up the call.
Yeah, I guess what I would just say is, in order to really create a culture that people want to stay, and obviously the longer they stay, the more money that you're going to make, right? And the more impact you're going to make on them. But the more opportunity they have, the longer they stay, the more opportunity they have to be able to refer you. All of those things need to be strategic.
Right.
So, going back to the 3 questions that we talked about, that you want to ask about your members, is what do I want them to receive? What do I want them to believe? And then what do I want them to achieve? Orchestrating all of those in such a way to be very strategic to get the goal in the end in mind for your school. The goal in the end in mind is really whatever your mission is. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say mission statement, but really whatever your mission is for your school. If you want to create leaders, if you want to create, hardcore combat people, like whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Just understand what it is your mission is, and then craft or strategically place things in that so that you can affect their lives, so they stay longer, they're going to pay more, and then they're going to refer. We talked a little bit about referrals last week. Allie, I had brought up about your referral of a lifetime program, utilizing that program. If you have no program, $47, go to Allie's website. He can drop the info in here for you. Yeah. But, you can utilize that right away and put that into practice. But again, if you can get them to stay longer, you have more of an impact on their lives to meet the goal that you want to achieve in that. And then obviously, the question is then that's going to allow them to believe more like you believe, become who they and you want them to become. More importantly, obviously, who they want to be, become, and have this belonging forever. So that they're going to say that, look, I didn't just do karate. I was a TriStar martial artist.
Right.
I just didn't do ninjutsu.
Yeah.
I was a Long Island ninjutsu martial artist.
Yeah.
And if you do a well enough job, it's going to be that even when they're not in your program anymore, it's going to be, I am a TriStar martial artist.
Yeah.
Not I was.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I love it. It's very tribal and very awesome. And it's like in the Japanese ninja clans. It's a clan. You are bound by honor and loyalty and discipline. And once you were there, you were there. You lived it, you acted it, you breathed it, you ate it. It's part of what you did. And it's life-changing. So thank you, Dwayne. Today was a great call. I love the topics that we've been covering. I hope that people are getting benefits out of it. We had a lot of comments today and a lot of listeners and viewers. So excited to keep on doing these type of podcasts with people that are on more of the mindsets of school owners. Because a lot of times we get comments and people say, one guy right in the beginning, he said, when I told that story, he goes, I was really happy to hear that story. Because they probably are on an island all by themselves, thinking that they're going through it all by themselves. And we're all feeling and dealing with the same stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's emotional things that we martial artists as school owners go through. It's just true.
Absolutely. All right.
Thanks,
dude.
sir.
Thank you. You have a great day. Take care, everybody. Sayonara.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Martial Arts School Owner Talk podcast. This would not be possible if it weren't for the support of our amazing sponsors. Please check out Elite Insights for all your website needs. They can be reached at eliteinsights.com. Add Health Coaching, helping school owners create a new and easy to implement revenue stream for your school. Visit addhealthcoaching.com. Lead Hunter Media, your online digital marketer and content provider. Visit leadhuntermedia.com. Academy Kings Growth Consulting and Management Group. They can be reached at academykings.com. And Spark Membership, hands down the best martial arts software for school owner management on the planet. They can be reached at sparkmembership.com. We will see you next time.